There's a lot of kids out there who need your help, and a donation to St. Jude could potentially save them. Link to my fundraiser is in the description.
Hang on a second. There we go. Now the show can have a beach episode.
Despite not being a fan of the summer climate, I've always enjoyed going to the beach. The vast landscape of sand, the calming ocean, I always have a wonderful time there. Except when there's jellyfish. I hate those things. In the context of video games, beach locations are more often than not big highlights of a game's visuals, and can have a lot going for them in terms of gameplay. So since I got back from a beach vacation not that long ago, I thought this topic would be fun. That, and admittedly, I want to try and make more countdowns about levels after the fun I had with my winter levels list from last year. So for my criterion as to whether it counts as a beach level, I'm going to focus on levels that balance out aspects of a beach location, rather than focus on levels that primarily take place under the water, essentially making it a water level and being a 7.8 out of 10. As a result, this was admittedly a little harder to think of more candidates for than I expected, but I think you'll see what I mean as we go along. So I think it's time to sit back, relax, and feel that summer sun.
Oh, and don't forget the sunscreen. You won't have any bad sunburns anywhere. Trust me.
Astro's Playroom is a game that tries way harder than it needs to. I mean, it isn't going to give some of the most highly regarded 3D platformers on the market a run for their money, but you could tell me that Sony just asked Team Asobi to make a game that shows off the PS5 tech and include a bunch of flexing on PlayStation's history while they were at it, and Team Asobi chose to actually try and make a really fun and really adorable 3D platformer. Even before taking the references into consideration, it's really charming to see this game create worlds that feel thematically appropriate with the PS5 part they represent. Probably one of my favorite examples has to be what they did with the world based off the cooling fan, especially its first level, Bot Beach. This level opens up with you literally going down a slide and diving straight into the water. Good way to say welcome to the cooling springs right off the bat. And that entrance is warranted because aside from all the enemies running about, the atmosphere of this place immediately puts me into a good mood. From astro swimming using a floaty, the crabs that you can punch to get more money out of, the swimming pool that you can dive off of to get more money, the soothing music, and of course all the other astrobots having fun or referencing something would take a lot to dislike. I especially like this one because he's clearly not in the mood for a tropical vacation.
Boy.
But it isn't just a fun beach with little substance. One of the biggest reasons as to why I like it is because of how relatively non-linear it is. Almost every level in this game is guiding you along a specific path they want you to take, with only small detours, which is totally fine. But that makes Bot Beach stand out more because it's basically a playground. Not a very huge one, as it won't take you that long to find everything, but I really like how this one handles exploration, since it's not just going down a linear path or backtracking with this thing that you just got. Everything's scattered about, so it feels more rewarding to look for things you want and find secrets conveniently tucked away. I'll admit the reason why I'm singling out Bot Beach is because the rest of the Cooling Springs doesn't do much with the beach theme, aside from a couple cosmetic things with the hotel and the spa, and heck, the third one happens to be an ice level. But that just makes talking about this cute outlet of sand even easier. So I guess little robots can find joy even in the summer heat. And they deserve it. Now that Ratchet & Clank has returned to its main timeline, the PS4 reimagining is now in an awkward predicament. More so in the context of its release and what was initially supposed to be before plans changed, but not necessarily as a game. Looking back, there's still a ton I really like about it. Everything that makes the series fun is kept perfectly intact, and I admire how it feels like it brings together the best things about the PS2 entries with the best things about the PS3 ones, and mixes them together seamlessly. And that style brought a lot to the Solana Galaxy's prized planet for tropical vacations, Poketaru. Well, I say planet for tropical vacations, but it's hard to consider one here because all these Hydro Harvesters are attempting to turn this place into a wasteland. At least Al's happy to come here for a convention despite all that. That's just how cool he is. But since we're here to keep that tropical vibe, the main course of this level primarily consists of you going along shorelines and driving off any blarg or rogue sea life you come along the way, including multiple telepathopus that fall easily to the warmonger. When you first get here, you're most likely just guided along from point A to point B across these islands, sometimes via boat rides the Felts and Raz will give you, but there's still plenty of fun combat sequences and quite a bit of platforming here and there to keep things moving along. But after all that, and another fun ship sequence where you shoot missiles at the Hydro Harvesters. Oh, you're a fan of Star Fox 2? Poketoru eventually becomes a big playground for you. Well, first you need to go through some pumping stations to get things going for the resort again, and get the oxygen mask if you don't want to explore the ocean while dealing with an air meter that drops like a rock. But it's well worth the effort. With the air meter gone, you can now freely swim the beautiful coral reef in the main area, harvesting any bolts or even gold bolts you come across. After dealing with Rex deplanetizing shenanigans in this place, just going about here to farm money and maybe dealing with hostile wildlife is far more relaxing, complemented by Ratchet controlling like a dream underwater. Sad that he can't attack while swimming though. There's even a secret cave on one of the islands if you look hard enough. That's really having fun with the idea. Poketoru isn't a terribly long level, nor a terribly big one, but going from driving off an invasion to exploring what's around you and maybe helping out the townsfolk does make it a personal highlight of the game for me. Just be sure you're not swimming when this thing is about, unless you want to become its lunch. Oh hey, I got a trophy for that! One thing I was thinking about for any videos about levels is allowing entire worlds to be on the same video as singular levels picked out from similarly structured worlds. I always try to find highlights of a game no matter what, but at the same time, if you don't really prefer a level in a world that's already doing its job really well, then I think talking about the world in its entirety would be fine for a list like this. And that's what I'm going to do with the beach world from Donkey Kong Country Returns. I don't really have a level from this world I prefer above all the rest, but I don't see a problem with that since every one of them flows very naturally into one another while trying something completely different to keep things fresh. The world in general starts with some pretty tame concepts that are still fun to mess around with, like these places that constantly flip over whenever a wave comes, and using cannons to manipulate the environments and all the wrecked ship parts everywhere. But things just keep getting crazier and more creative as you go on. You'll find yourself escaping pirate ships both on foot and on the rocket barrel, platforming through cliff sides to escape Squidicus the octopus as it manipulates or flat out destroys the terrain you need, switching between riding on top of a whale and platforming across wrecked ship parts as it destroys them, and hiding behind cover to avoid tidal waves which will kill you instantly if you are in their path. There's a lot of imaginative ideas that mesh well with the gameplay being established, and since this is the game's second world, it sets a good example for the type of things you'll see later on. A lot of these levels are definitely challenging, but they really don't get too ridiculous, with maybe the exception of Tile Terror, but then again, when are insta-deaths not nerve-wracking? I also kind of like how the level ramps up the intensity visually from level to level, starting off really relaxing early, and becoming far more stormy and unpredictable later on, with the music choice doing everything it can to help out with that. I may not always go to this beach world when I want to show you just how great the modern DKC games can be, as I feel they mostly act as very solid levels that aren't that extravagant, with the middling battle against this crab crew not helping much. But at the end of the day, it's still a really fun set of levels for a really well made game, and maybe that's all you need sometimes. Sonic Lost World is a game I still think gets a bad rap. I really appreciate how this game tries to be its own quirky little thing, rather than try and emulate the experience of previous titles, and the levels, while pretty standard thematically for a platformer, I think are made interesting with the freedom of exploration given, and how they use the abstract concept of the lost text to get imaginative with the level design. And Tropical Coast is definitely one of my favorite examples in that regard. I mean, with all the cylindrical level design the game's been showing off, it's not only really neat to see a lot of the water cover each of the cylinders, leaving crevices where the level is, but those crevices can branch off into different sections, meaning that you more than likely won't see everything the level has to offer on your first go. Like with the rest of the game, there are paths that are just easy to blaze through if you got places to be, but there's plenty to check out if you want to take your time, smell that sticky air, and maybe kick a badnik while you're at it. There's also a lot of places that act as good brain-teasing puzzles, like assembling these butterflies to the flower that'll launch you to a different part of the level, or in Act 2's case, guiding fruit to giant blenders so that the resulting fountain carries you along. That's really charming, and it admittedly makes me a little hungry. This also has some of the best uses of the wisps in the game, despite only being here because Colors did so well. Between using the drill wisp to swim around in little underwater caves, or the rocket wisp taking you to different sections that you can shoot into these cannons and keep the wisp going for as long as you're allowed, I enjoy using them every time. Despite the boss being very mediocre, there's a lot I really enjoy about Tropical Coast. I enjoy how much you can explore these acts and take in the scenery. The Act 3 where you're grinding on rails in these tubes is a great change of pace. I like how the giant fruit was integrated, and everything about how it's presented, from visuals down to the music that sounds like a party at the beach, just makes me happy every time. I want to go back with the amount of features a beach level can have in my eyes before I build up this next one. Just going with the shoreline and the ocean is probably a safe assumption, but they can also be hosts for caves that the ocean itself formed, and if you really wanted to, you could probably throw in some kind of boat. With all these, possibilities for what could be considered a beach level seem a little greater. And with that, we come to the recently released Pizza Tower. I'm really glad I decided to get this game, because despite the chaotic nature of the gameplay, especially for going for P ranks, every level is able to remain fun and interesting with what they have to offer, and its beach level, Crust Cove, is absolutely one of my favorites. This level is really notable for its visuals, with the view of the sunset and the caves barely looking dull, and there's a number of smaller details to fit the setting, like these guys in treasure chests that hang out in places where X marks the spot, and these pineapples with shades that are just jamming to the music. I mean, I can't blame them, this track is awesome. But the obstacles and set pieces really make this level stand out. These pools of water that need to be ran over at max speed to avoid becoming a piranha's dinner, sections where you have to dodge cannon fire, cannonballs so you can parry, keep this in mind, and sections where you get to roll around in a barrel, all wait for you in this level. These all flow seamlessly into one another, and because of all this, Crust Cove doesn't feel like it's overstaying its welcome. Any formations feel just right to continue your combo, the secrets are overall not too devilishly hidden, aside from the second eye, which is basically do or get knocked away, and the escape sequence is intense and very well constructed, taking you to another part of the pirate ship, and giving you an idea where the fastest pathways are. It's really impressive how this tower is able to fit an entire beach in it, on top of a few other things, and the resulting level is a rush of excitement, no matter how many revisits I make. It's always hard to think of a level for a mainline Pokemon game for lists like these. Aside from the music and the scenery, most of the rest tend to be just as fun as each other, with nothing really engaging to break up in a countdown. I can easily bring up some towns located right next to the shore, like Undellatown from Gen 5 will always be a 5-star vacation spot for me, but in terms of levels, I tried to think of an interesting one without running back to Pokemon Legends Arceus with my tail between my legs. But it was a fruitless endeavor. So needless to say, the Cobalt Coastlands from Legends Arceus is a fantastic area. The place might look a little funky at first, since when you first come here, you don't exactly have a means to travel across the water, but even so, there's still a lot to take in on the land, from the shorelines with a huge variety of Pokemon right off the bat, including an Alpha Octillery set to Hyper Beam on sight, and an Alpha Walrein who is not pleased with your presence, to the shipwreck where you might find some ghost Pokemon, to this one beach shaped like a hand. But then you get Bascule Legion, and suddenly, things really open up. Now being able to traverse the water, there's loads more Pokemon to find both in and above the water, and plenty of islands to serve as good lookout points. You can even find a grove that houses Turnback Cave where Giratina will be waiting for you after a certain plot point. Speaking of special Pokemon, you can eventually venture into that volcano standing comfortably on the edge of the map, and catch Heatran for the Iron Plate. Thundurus will also be waiting for you on the water after the aforementioned plot point, and if you know what Pokemon to bring to a specific point on the map, even the Sea Prince Manaphy will come by to say hello. It's always fun to find secrets and complete quests when you know where to look. The boss fight with Noble Arcanine is awesome as well. It mostly relies on working with the space you're given, since the arena is a little more wonky, and Arcanine creates a giant pool of fire when it's below half health, but it makes it all work, and it's just fun to fight in general. In hindsight, the Cobalt Coastlands continues what the game was already doing so well, giving you massive playgrounds to mess around with and catch Pokemon in, but being a beach area and the place where you get Bascule Legion, it feels like it's doing things its own way. It makes water traversal fun, and supplies plenty of secrets for you, and that makes it a fun spot for treasure hunts. I'd like to say a good vacation spot too, but that Octillery would absolutely have something to say about that. Funny that I should bring up treasure hunts, because the next level is a special case of those. Right, Banjo? I thought so. Banjo-Kazooie is a game I heard so much about from several YouTubers I watch, so I'm very happy that I recently got a chance to play it. I love the amount of charm and personality shown from every character present in both cutscenes and the worlds you visit, and it's a ton of fun to explore these giant sandbox levels for as many goodies as you can find. And early on, it shows itself spectacularly at a beach level, Treasure Trove Cove. The word treasure is fitting for this level, not just for how fun and pleasing it is in terms of mood, but also in a more literal sense because there are treasure hunts basically everywhere. There's one that takes place in the ship that's both wrecked and washed up on shore that you have to navigate through twice over for 2 gold bars, one of those entrances being underwater. There's one that takes place literally inside a sandcastle where you need to spell Banjo-Kazooie on a timer. This is also for cheat codes, by the way. And there's one where you go around the island to find a sentient treasure chest where X literally marks the spot. And that's just the beginning. It's not only super charming as is, on top of the fun platforming on the island that you're already doing, but this is also where the game begins to show you the amount of vertical platforming it's truly capable of, thanks to the shock spring jump and flight being introduced here. It feels like this is the point where the game branches out and feels a lot more open, a step up from the previous level, Mumbo's Mountain, which mostly kept things confined. Understandably so, since that was the first level. The flight is especially liberating because it's fun to look for secrets this way, and the game lets you fly up to the lighthouse and clear challenges, which would normally be separated by a loading screen if you went there on foot. Treasure Trove Cove is not only a great introduction to a lot of design choices that will get expanded upon in later levels, thus making it effective as one of the game's first levels, but in a bubble, it's very well designed and a joy to find treasure in. Though I would not advise using this as a spot to go swimming in the ocean, otherwise Snacker here will appear from the ethereal plane and enjoy his lunch. That shark has some weird powers, gotta say. I might as well say this now, the rest of the entries are from 3D platformers. I had a lot of trouble finding beach levels I enjoy from other kinds of games, with maybe the exception of 2D platformers, but in the context of 3D ones, kinda like my preference to them over 2D ones, I feel like there's a ton of different directions you can take with the beach level in 3D that can lead to more sophisticated and imaginative design. This was something fully realized by a huge indie hit from last year, Lunistis. A Grumpy Fox did a great job with this game, from how Hana controls, to all the wondrous level design with set pieces that fit the setting, and Hana's general thoughts, with one of my favorite examples being the second level, Beach Summer. Okay, not the most creative name, but believe me, the creativity went into the general design. The level just let you roll along the coastlines to a gorgeous sunset that even has bubbles in the air to really give that dreamlike feel, but then we get to the platforms and gimmicks that make this level special. There are these spheres of water that will take you to different sections that you can actually hop out of if something catches your eye, giant beach balls that bounce you into the air and make for some immensely fun and kinetic platforming, parasols that spin in circles, and these giant spheres of water that seem like they give you the ability to swim, but they really don't alter the physics that much, so it's mostly for aesthetics. But dang, are they good for aesthetics. In fact, Beach Summer is doing all it can with these, and with what you might be used to in Lunistis, to be its own thing. Things like mixing the beach balls with platforming across palm trees, arranging your position to ride water spheres back to back, and going across some building ruins and weirdly constructed islands. I think this game may have something weird further within, but I can't tell. Beach Summer does a lot in introducing new things that are easy to understand and fun to get the hang of, and any carryovers from the previous level are used in a way that's refreshing. With the beautiful atmosphere and the joyful music, this is one of the first levels I'd show off when it comes to recommending this fantastic indie title. Kirby and the Forgotten Land has easily become my second favorite Kirby game, and one of my favorite 3D platformers on the Switch. The adjustments made to fully translate the series into 3D were just in the right places, and HAL definitely took advantage of the added dimension to breathe new life into every level, even if it's an archetype that's been done before in earlier entries. We've seen many different beach levels from the series before, and most of them get the job done, but nothing more. But Forgotten Land absolutely rode the wave with grace and style with its beach world, Everbay Coast. There's plenty of lush and relaxing scenery you'd expect out of a beach level, and it's always charming to see Kirby swim around with that floaty. But keeping true to what the game's been doing thematically, this world is home to a ton of abandoned buildings, structures, and machinery, some of which are still being used. I like all of this because all the technical stuff gets more involved the further you progress, and every bit feels like it's adding something new. For example, the first level, the abandoned beach, has you primarily exploring the shorelines and cliffsides, only for you to stumble upon the remains of a sunken hotel, and things progress to machines moving aisles of concrete, then to this giant tower, and eventually a whole dam with currents of water. Not only is it charming to find a lot of secrets, with standouts easily going to the secret cave in the abandoned beach that you find with the hammer ability, or this little island in concrete aisles where Wolfie is just relaxing, not caring about anything. I would honestly love to join it. But every bit is either divided up or enhanced by some fun uses of mouthful mode. There's a few sections that let you use the ring mouth on a boat to navigate tight water passageways and bulldoze these crocodiles that Kirby can't damage otherwise, and a whole gliding section with the arc mouth where you collect things as you glide along. This part is so much fun and beautiful at the same time. Since I like to play platformers to completion most of the time, these are all great challenges that really show the amount of thought that went into Forgotten Land, and definitely challenge you with all that's available, but not egregiously. Boss fight's cool as well. The added dimension really does give Tropic Woods more to work with than what the other Woods encounters have done, and while it certainly isn't that hard, it's still very fun and creative, just like the rest of the game. While none of these levels are my favorite in the game, Everbay Coast still manages to be my second favorite world in Forgotten Land, for being incredibly relaxing to travel through, and exciting for what the game will bring next. Though seriously, I would love to chill with that at Woofy. That looks and sounds like fun. There's one more wave we needed to catch, but before that, let's take a look at a few that impressed me that didn't get on here. Sentinel Beach from Jak and Daxter the Precursor Legacy. Very fun for an early game level, and the aesthetics just feel relaxing. It's a fun place to learn about the game. Vodkin Shore from The Messenger. The calming look at the past variant and the stormy look at the future variant work really well with one another. Tidal Gate from Freedom Planet 2. A solid introduction to Perusa and the second half of the game, and it's fun to find the fastest routes. Starshine Beach Galaxy from Super Mario Galaxy 2. Mario tends to have great beach levels, but I feel that this one does the best job of being a giant playground. Also, it has Yoshi, and that gives it a lot more points. Emerald Coast from Sonic Adventure. I debated on whether I like this more than Tropical Coast from Lost World, but even so, it's still a great time. The Orca sequence is also iconic. And Melee Sea for Pokemon Generation 7. Yet another fun playground to mess around in. I love Alola. Because beach levels are a little more strict to narrow down comparatively speaking, especially depending on how many water level traits they can incorporate, and make it harder to find where to draw that line, it was difficult to think about what I would pick for this list, and where I would put it. Except for number 1. Deciding on that was as easy as pie. Yeah, I really can't think of a beach food to substitute pie here. Easy as ice cream and easy as watermelon sound wrong. So with that said, may I introduce the Seaside Kingdom from Super Mario Odyssey. Even when taking into account the numerous beaches Mario's been to, even in basically an entire game, the Seaside Kingdom is the one I'm enamored with the most. Like, this place is gorgeous! With both the gleaming sun overhead and during the sunset, the glistening waters, and the maze sand strips and cliffs, the sights are just breathtaking to behold. Just lying around here and enjoying the summer sun and the sight of the water puts me at ease. It could just be a really nice vacation spot, but it also manages to be a great level to explore while it's at it. Thanks to Cappy, which, need I remind you, lets you take control of various enemies for an entirely different moveset, it's a blast to explore from landmass to landmass with these rocket flowers. The cheap juice allow for some of the best swimming controls on a 3D Mario game yet, and also have a spin move to cut through all the seaweed. And this place is one of my favorite capturable enemies in the game, the Gushin. The amount of creative freedom you have with the ability to rocket through the air in a water bubble is just thrilling, so the platforming challenges make very good use of it, and it even acts as the basis for the kingdom's boss fight against Mollusk Glonsoor, where you basically have to chase it down before showering it on its head. Definitely one of my favorite boss fights in the game. Because of the amount of freedom you have, it's great to just look around the shores, or in places as low as the underwater caverns where Unagi eels are lurking about, or as high as the lighthouse or that giant glass in the center for all the secrets and alternate rooms. The place is just oozing with charm in terms of its characterization too. Both doors have plenty of goodies to sell you for the coins you've been collecting. You can play a game of volleyball with the locals, and this dog loves to play hat frisbee. It'll even fight power moves for you if you play enough times with it. Even if you cannot pet the dog, it always finds a way to be a good dog. And I'm glad the game realized that. Heck, even Peach realizes how good of a vacation spot this is, and I'm sure no one can blame her. Super Mario Odyssey continues to be my favorite Mario game for what you can do, and all the charming, joyous, and memorable locations you visit. And this beautiful tropical kingdom is one of my favorites as a whole for what it does best. This place is a paradise that I'm more than happy to visit again.
I'm Light Ripper, and beaches are still awesome. See you all next time.